Hello and welcome to another step-by-step how to tie tutorial video. This is the Bugger P.O.E. P.O.E. That stands for Peacock, Ostrich, and Emu. For this fly we are using a size 10. This is a Moonlit ML057. This is their streamer nymph hook. I've got that partnered up with a 3.2 millimeter black tungsten bead. The tail, of course, as the name, will be the ostrich portion. We have black and red ostrich herl. The inner body consists of that beautiful peacock herl that just drives the fish nuts. And for the outer body, instead of a standard hackle, we are using a black emu. Holding that all down is a red wire small UTC. And for our tying thread, I am going to be using a 210 denier flat wax thread. So let's go ahead and remove that sample, and we can position our hook as such so we can just drop that bead in there. We're going to put the small opening forward towards the eye of the hook, and there we go. We are ready to go. So we're going to start our thread right behind the bead, working it in towards the rear, stopping along the way to trim off our tag end. And we can continue our wraps all the way to the bend where we'll tie in our tail. Let's see, I have about 5-6 strands or so of peacock herl, or ostrich rather. This is the red. I just want to make sure the tips are somewhat aligned. They're going to get beat up, chewed up real quick, but it sure does fish well. And standard woolly bugger proportions, going to go about a hook's length. And we'll just take a couple of turns, locking that in. And then I'm going to come in with 1, 2, 3 bits of black. We're just going to tie that in on top of that. Folding that all back, I'm going to bump my thread forward to right behind the bead. I'm going to palmer forward the ostrich. And this is going to build up the bulk of the body just a little bit. This is all going to get wrapped over a couple more times, so we're not too concerned with how pretty this looks. We're just wrapping it forward using the majority of the feathers that we tied in. And once that's secured, we can go ahead and trim off our waist. And at this point, we'll also tie in our red wire. What I like to do is I like to poke the tip of that wire into that bead, but not too far, not so it sticks out the front end. And I can work that in from the front to the rear, keeping that tied in on the near side of the hook. Once I'm at the rear, I can just set that off to the side. Grab about, I don't know, 4 or 5 strands of peacock now. I got 4 here. Lock those in here at the rear and work our thread forward. We can just tie that in. Again, we're just building up bulk of the body at this point. Rip off the little niblets of waist. Let's go ahead and palmer on our peacock now. We'll take touching wraps. Building our inner body. If this was a standard woolly bugger, this would be just a regular old chenille, but we're going to use this peacock. We're going to really drive those fish nuts. And once we get up front, we can secure that down with a couple locking wraps. There we have it. Alright, let's come in with our emu now. I have this nice long emu feather. And it's fairly consistent with its size, so we'll just tie this in up front. I'm going to go nice and thick all the way back because I have this nice long feather. I'm going to keep my material facing forward so it doesn't get too choked up. Looks like I could probably take a better full wrap up front. Here we go. Now we'll work this from the front to the rear, and we'll actually secure this with the red wire we tied in earlier as we get towards, I don't know, if you got a shorter feather you might have to use your hackle pliers. If not, it's really nice to just feel the tension as you palmer it backwards. And what's interesting is your forward wraps become counter wraps, become forward wraps, because now we can just take our red wire, take a couple turns there at the rear, securing the rest of that emu in. I'm just going to bring an open spiral forward. And the emu does a pretty good job keeping itself out of the way. So we'll just make sure the wraps are nice and even. Up front, we can secure the wire down. Couple locking wraps. I like to come in with the wire cutters. Trim that off nice and close. And we'll finish this off with a 1, 2, 3 whip finish. 1, 2, 3 turns. Now we can trim off our tying thread. We'll trim off the excess emu. And we're going to come in with just a little drop of insurance. A little dab of Flex Seal. Or whatever head cement you're using. Just a little dab will glue you. That's all you need in there. Guaranteed to catch fish, size 10, the Bugger P.O.E. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Happy tying, and with this one, tight lines.